Welcome to Dear Warriors. My name is Amy Vega, and I am your host. I have worked in the plasma industry for over 20 years. Throughout my career, I was blessed to have worked with the most incredible employees and met the most amazing donors and recipients of plasma. This podcast was started to bring to light what had been in the shadows, the rare disease community. Join me on Dear Warriors, where we will share stories of warriors and so much more. Hello everyone, it's Amy from Dear Warriors. There are several antibodies floating around in our bodies that help us fight infections and viruses. A person who is constantly having an upper and lower respiratory infection may have lower levels of these antibodies, which is why a simple cold is not simple to them. In some cases, a person can be diagnosed with specific antibody deficiency. Our guest is a nursing student who is also newly diagnosed with specific antibody deficiency. She learned about her condition while away at college. She also shares what it was like to receive her first IVIG therapy and how IVIG therapy may have protected her from the harsh symptoms of COVID-19. Which she also experienced this past August. Allie and I welcome Maureen Bacon to the show. Welcome. This is Amy from Dear Warriors and Allie, and we have Maureen Bacon, a 21-year-old senior from college. Welcome, Maureen, to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I am a 21-year-old. I go to the University of South Carolina. And I guess I can just start with my story.
Absolutely. Jump right in.
Well, I guess it all kind of goes back to growing up. When I think about my childhood and like the main core memories of my childhood, the majority of them revolve around being sick and going to numerous doctor's visits, going to the hospital, all of my different nebulizer treatments, my different medications, seeing different doctors for different tests. That's kind of how my childhood went because I was always really sick. And it was a lot of like upper respiratory infections when I was a young baby. I mean, my mom told me this because I was way too young to remember, but I had croup all the time. So I was always in the hospital with croup. I had pneumonia a few times, and it was really, really rough because it was a lot of missed school days, catching up on school, missing events, kind of, sleeping in the basement because the basement had cooler air and I could prop myself up on a pillow versus laying flat in my bed where I'd be coughing all night, not sleeping, or even sleeping out on our screened-in porch in the wintertime because the air out there was what calmed down my cough, and it was the only thing that could kind of help it. Or standing with my head in the freezer, like anything that could help. And that was just kind of all my childhood was with my illnesses. It was a lot of just dealing with all of that. And so I went to a couple different doctors, like a couple of different allergists and immunologists, because my mom, who's an ICU nurse, she knew that this wasn't just a typical kid getting a cold or getting sick and it going away. It was something that was a lot different because it hit me a lot harder and I couldn't ever get rid of it on my own. So I actually ended up also getting tested for cystic fibrosis, and all of the different tests that I got, everything was negative. No one could figure it out. It was very frustrating, as I'm sure a lot of people know, like it's like getting told no. It's we don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I'm not sure what else there is to do. And so as I got a little bit older into middle and high school, I was still getting sick. I was still up all night coughing, getting all of these infections, not really sure what was going on, constantly having to miss out on things because I was sick. And it made getting my schoolwork done really hard because even if I could attend the school day, there's been many times where my teachers would have to ask me to leave because I was coughing and hacking in the back corner, and they couldn't continue with the lessons. They'd be like, "Do you need to leave?" And I was like, "Probably." And then being up all night, coughing up all night and just not feeling well, and just even something as simple as a cold, like knocking me out for days at a time and not really knowing why, because it's just a cold. But to me, it just hit my body different. Mm-hmm. And so then when I got into college, I was like, okay, maybe this will be when everything kind of stops, but it didn't. I kept getting sick. And of course, living in a dorm is a petri dish. So
Yes.
with all of that, it was, again, I was constantly getting sick, constantly having to miss out on my lectures, which is even harder than in high school and middle school because your professors have hundreds of students and they're not super concerned, you know?
Yes.
It's a lot less intimate and personal. And so that made it really difficult, let alone having my roommate 2 feet away from me in her bed. And I felt terrible because I was up all night, coughing all night, or getting up because I felt so bad. And so I remember going out into the common area and sleeping on the couch because I didn't want to keep her up because we're both nursing majors and we have a very hard schedule and a very rigorous course content, and I would feel so terrible keeping her up at night. And so I would call my mom from like the living room couch out and like by the elevator sobbing because I was so exhausted and it's been days since I slept. And it was just all of that, one after another after another. And so it was actually nursing school that ended up figuring out what was going on with me because I had to go get my titers checked in order to start working in a hospital for my clinical rotations. And so when I went to get my blood drawn for them to make sure that I've been vaccinated for all the titers, she was a physician's assistant that I had seen many times who knew me by name because I was always at the health center. She always knew me. And she actually called me and was like, I'm pretty sure you're not an anti-vaxxer, but you have no you have no titers to any of these vaccines.
What?
And I was like, and she was like, I know you and I know you're always sick. So I'm not sure if that's a coincidence, but I had no titers to anything. So it was MMR, it was hepatitis B. The only one I did have was varicella because I did get chickenpox when I was younger, of course, because I got the vaccine. Of course, I got chickenpox. And so she was like, I think that you should go see an immunologist. And she was like, just putting these pieces together. She was like, if I didn't know you and I saw these results, like I would just say, okay, go get your vaccines again. Like go get another round of Hep B. Some people just don't they don't last with them. So she was like, I would have said, go get your vaccines elsewhere. But because I know you, because I know you're always sick and we really aren't sure what's going on, I think you should go to see this immunologist. So she referred me to, her daughter has a lot of health problems. So she referred me to the doctor that her daughter sees, which was also really nice because I'm in South Carolina and I'm from Maryland. So it's not like I can just Google search a doctor to go find. It was It was definitely important having someone to refer me to someone. So I went and saw him, and this was the summer of last year, actually. So I was just about to begin my summer semester. It was my first semester of actual nursing school. So being in the clinical setting, being in the hospital. So that summer I was going to see this immunologist and I was giving him my background, giving him my story, basically telling him everything I just told you guys, that I get these illnesses. I get a cold, it turns into a cough, it turns into almost croup and then pneumonia unless I get antibiotics for it. And so he was like, okay, let's look at your blood. So after basically a couple months of getting my blood drawn, checking if I had any titers to anything, looking at all my subclasses of antibodies, getting vaccinated again, seeing if it worked, getting vaccinated again, seeing if it worked.
Oh my God.
We basically, so I think it was about 2 or 3 rounds of vaccines. And then I would have to wait 4 weeks to get my blood drawn to see if it worked. And so it ended up being that all of my pneumococcal antibodies were all very deficient. There's about 14 of them. And so I got the Prevnar 13 shot, which was kind of funny because I went to CVS and they were like, you need the Prevnar 13 shot? Because usually it's 65 and older who need to get it. And I was like, I know, can I please just have it? Here's my prescription for it. Please just give it to me. So I got that, and then that didn't end up helping me either. My numbers still were very low, and all of the vaccines that I had gotten, none of those really increased my titers anyways either. So he diagnosed me with specific antibody deficiency. And so then he was like, in terms of treatment options, you can kind of have an everyday antibiotic. You can just be very proactive on your use of antibiotics. If you start to get sick, just go to the doctor and try and get something right away. Or there's this thing called IVIG. And so IVIG was kind of the third, last resort option for me in that situation, because it was an once a month thing, and it was the most invasive out of the 3 options. And so he was like, I don't want to jump to that because that's going to end up being a lifelong thing that you'll be getting. So I don't want to jump to that yet. And also, he hadn't seen me sick yet because I'd only been with him for a few like weeks or months, I guess. And I just hadn't gotten sick yet. And so with me, when I'm good, I'm good. And when I'm sick, I'm sick. And I'm sure Alex probably can relate to that. And so that's why he was seeing me like, and that's also because my, like I've gotten to a baseline of feeling bad. So like my norm is like kind of feeling like crap, which is really sad. But it's kind of just what my norm has always been. Like it's what I've had because I can't miss that much school. I can't miss everything. So
I totally understand.
You have to learn to cope with it and deal with it because you're just going to get left behind. And it stinks, but that was just the reality of it. And so I had seen him when I was just like walking in the office, feeling great. And so that was around summer. And he was like, why don't we just kind of like let you go for now? Like if you get sick, like come in, we'll see how you are. We'll get those antibiotics, but we don't want to jump to anything with like IVIG yet. And so then September rolls around. And with me, it's always right when the fall comes and then the beginning of the summer. So it's kind of the end of the year and the beginning of the year is when I'm the most sick. So of course, September comes around and I get really sick. And it's my typical cough. And I ended up having to miss a day of clinical for it because I was in my pediatric rotation. And I knew if I walked in there, even though I can function at my sick baseline, if I walked in there hacking up and coughing up a lung, I know a mother or father, rightfully so, would be like, get away from my child.
Right.
You are not taking care of my child right now. And I would completely get it. So I ended up having to miss a day of clinical, which caused me like severe anxiety because they say they like scare us half to death in nursing school. And they're like, you cannot miss
not one day.
Single day.
Yes.
They're like this, like you need these hours to graduate. You cannot miss it. And so I had to miss it. And I called my immunologist in a panic. And I was like, I'm really sick and I'm missing a day of clinical. Like, can I like please either come see you so I can get antibiotics? Because I know it's only going to get worse and I'm going to have to be okay by next week. And so he prescribed me antibiotics and I think my appointment was like 2 or 3 days later. That was the earliest time I could get in. So I'd started the antibiotics. And fortunately, whenever I do get antibiotics, I start to feel better within a couple of days. It starts to clear things up really quickly. And so I was probably on like day 2 or 3 of the antibiotics and I was still coughing and everything, but I was feeling a lot better. And I went in to see him and he listened to my lungs and he was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, what? He was like, you said you're feeling better than like your normal sickness. And I was like, yeah, like I've been on antibiotics for a couple of days. Like I was really bad like 2 days ago, but I'm feeling pretty much fine now. And he was like, if this is you when you're fine, I don't even want to know what your lungs sound like when you're not fine. Cause I did all like the breathing tests and he listened to me and everything. And so he was like, I think you need to start IVIG right now, because if this is how your lungs are being treated every time you get sick, then it's just going to cause illnesses down the road. It could lead to congestive heart failure. It can lead to lung cancer. And so he was like, and like, meanwhile, I'm like going to all these appointments by myself and I have my mom on speakerphone because I'm like, I have no idea how to like be an adult still. Like I'm still only 20 years old. I still need my mom to help me make these decisions. So I have like her on speakerphone. And she was like, I remember her asking, if this was your kid, would you have them start IVIG? And he was like, absolutely. I would have them start right away. And so after that, and I guess it was kind of a blessing that I did get sick early enough because that was what really showed us that we do need to get this ball rolling. And so October 14th or 15th was my first infusion of 2019. And it took about, I would say, a month, I guess, because I was sick in September, about a month to get all the paperwork and everything handled. And so I had my first infusion. My mom came down for it, which was really awesome. And she's been like, I mean, I'm really close with my mom. She's like my best friend and she's been through it all. She would stay up all night with me out on the porch. Like she would like take me to every doctor's appointment. I mean, she was an ICU nurse. She would bring home medicine. She'd bring home her nebulizer treatment stuff and like help me out at home.
Right.
Like, she's my rock. And so she came down for it. And I was definitely nervous going into my very first one because I even though I've been to the doctor a million times, I just didn't know. I was like watching YouTube videos of like people doing their own little like vlogs about it and how it's like reacted with them. And kind of like how Megan was talking about in her episode, that a lot of people have different reactions to it. Some people can have like a severe reaction to it, which of course my mom was really worried about. And like some people just get really bad headaches. And so they really want to hydrate you before. And so the first one went, I was very fortunate. It went really well. I didn't have any problems. And over the next couple of months, it was just kind of an adjustment of kind of making sure I knew it was in my schedule. It worked with my clinical schedule, my school schedule. I would have someone bring me there, or my mom actually came down for the next couple of ones, which was really nice. And I guess since that was in 2019, they did tell me it would take a couple months for it to start working. So I was actually really sick, probably September through January. I think I was on antibiotics straight. I got put on like a month dose in December. And so I was pretty much on antibiotics from September through February. And then the summer rolled around. I did okay. And I guess that was this past summer. So COVID happened. So
Right.
then
I heard that. I saw that in your testimony.
Me too. Oh my gosh, Maureen.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh goodness, like COVID is happening. And this is like, we have no idea how it would affect me. But again, I was so fortunate that I started IVIG and that I had that. And I ended up getting COVID. So like, it was very, very scary that it could have been so much worse, but so thankful that I had IVIG on board and it ended up not being too bad. So it has definitely been a roller coaster of figuring it out, trying to see what was wrong with me, the nose, the constant, like, what the heck is this? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, I think about growing up and going through school and everything and just being like, why is this happening to me? What did I do? Like, why? And having it was so difficult to explain it to people too, because it's not like you're like, oh, I have cancer. Oh, I have this. Like I said earlier.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, so I get a cold and then it actually kills me and it's really awful and it sucks and I feel like I'm dying, but the only way to say it is like, oh, I had a cold, and everyone's like, oh, you had a cold. And so it's so hard to talk about, but luckily I found people like you guys who understand and can start talking about it more.
Absolutely. I think Allie feels you on that, because growing up, she tells her story that growing up, it was like, I'm sick. And people are not understanding that she was truly, truly sick. Something she didn't make up. She wasn't making it up. It's not just a cold. And that is that craziness that I wish that I can erase from the world, right? Because you could say, I'm immune compromised. Oh, it just means that you're just going to take longer to heal or longer for a cold. But that's not cool. That's not really what it is. I mean, your body, your body, you feel awful. And so I could see Allie's face when you were saying that. And I know it just triggered, because she has her own, she's young too. And she's had to have her own struggles. Even friends, family, they just don't get it. Your mother, thank God, Allie's mother and your mother were your champions. But just imagine somebody else out there that doesn't have that support system.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. And Maureen, when you said that about your mom, that's what I told Amy when we first met. And I told her my story. I told her, I said, my mom and I had a partnership. And when I was really young, elementary school age, we formed a deal where she said, I promise that what you're telling me is true. If you're telling me that you're sick, then I will take your word for it. Regardless of what anybody else says, we will have our own pact, and I will take you seriously if you tell me you're sick. I don't care how many times you tell me. If you tell me you're not feeling well, then I will listen to you and I will respect you. And she and I had that trust that I had with nobody else, because I never looked sick, Maureen. And I know you never did either. So my mom and I had this special, very untouchable level of honesty with each other that nobody else understood, because every time I said I don't feel good, I looked completely fine.
Because we had to learn how to function at that baseline. And it was so hard coming down to school here because luckily my pediatrician at home, she saw me every week if I wasn't in the hospital, if I was at her office. So she understood that, I started to get a cold, I need antibiotics immediately. But then I came down here and my health center doctor at first, like I actually wrote her a letter when I got my full diagnosis and started getting my treatments. I wrote her a letter and I was like, you're a freaking rock star. Like, you're the reason. She was the one that said, wait a minute, you need to go see an immunologist. Before I started seeing her, and I would just go to like either Minute Clinic at CVS or just a random doctor that was available at the health center. They were like, you have a cold, like, you're fine. And I mean, that's how it is for most people. So like, no disrespect to them. That's just what the normal, that when most people get a cold, it's okay. Take the Tylenol, take the Advil, drink lots of water. You'll be fine in a couple of days. And I was like, no, but I'm not going to be. Like, I need you to believe me. And so it was frustrating. It was really frustrating.
So with COVID, COVID attacks mostly your lungs. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. How was that for you with your situation? I mean, did you feel it harder?
We were really concerned about it because, like I said, the majority of my illnesses and my immune system issues are related to my respiratory system. And so having COVID be a respiratory issue, we were very concerned about it. And my roommate ended up getting it first. And so then we had kind of her quarantined, and the day after she tested positive, I started feeling bad. And I was actually listening to Megan when I was listening to her podcast, and she said, with our issues, when you wake up and you don't feel well, and that night you could be in the hospital, it happened so fast. And so I woke up and even like the slightest body ache or like different feeling in my throat, I know I'm getting sick. Like, I just know it's happening. It is happening. And so I woke up the next day and I was like, I definitely have COVID. And so I called my mom, and of course she was like, I'm on my way down. I'm coming right now. Like, she freaked out, and I was like, it's okay. Like, I will keep you posted. I'm also lucky that I have one of my cousins from home. He goes to school here too. He's like my brother. So I have family here, and all of my friends and my roommates, everyone's super wonderful and super supportive. And so I was lucky enough that I had that to rely on. So I was like, Mom, like, I will let you know if I start to go downhill, but I'm okay for now. And so the first day, the main issue is definitely like the body aches and the fatigue. And I had a fever, and mainly that. I did feel congested, but I wasn't doing my typical like cough nonstop all night type deal. But it was a lot of like, I felt so exhausted and so tired, and like the fever was pretty bad, and just like I didn't eat probably like the entire time I had it because I just wasn't hungry. I didn't lose my taste. I will say I didn't lose my taste. My smell went a little bit, but I'm lucky that I have it back because I've heard that some people haven't gotten it back yet.
Yeah, I have heard that too. That's crazy.
Which is, and one of my friends actually, because a lot of my friends ended up getting it, but one of my friends hasn't gotten his smell back yet. So,
unbelievable.
Which is definitely scary. So I'm lucky enough that I didn't have that. But
wow.
I would say definitely it was probably lasted, the main effects probably lasted, I would say 5 to 6 days. And then after that, it was probably the next 2 weeks of just being really tired, like just having to slowly work my way back up to having my like normal endurance and ability to like be back where I was before. And I was in constant communication with my immunologist the whole time as well, because he was like, if anything, if you start to feel worse, like he even talked about possibly putting me on the hydroxychloroquine medication and everything. And so I would say the main problem was definitely the body aches and the fatigue and just overall that terrible like feeling if you got hit by a truck type feeling.
So did you have an infusion prior for you getting COVID, or were you like in that middle in between? Because
I think I want to say that I didn't have to move my next one because they like have like strict guidelines where they're like, they call you and they're like, if you've been experiencing signs or symptoms, if you've tested positive, been in contact, etc., they'll be like, you need to either move your appointment. But so I think I honestly probably had my infusion like a week before.
Oh, okay.
Because we came back to school to move into our new apartment the August, I think 15th, 16th. My infusion was the 15th. And then I think I ended up getting sick like 5 or 6 days later. So I was definitely in the beginning, which was also super helpful.
I was going to say those antibodies probably were right on time. Like,
probably saved my life.
Yeah, those antibodies probably was the ones that kept, you did feel the flu-like symptoms of the COVID, but I can't even imagine if you didn't have that infusion.
Oh, me either.
Oh my
Amy,
God.
seriously?
I while you were saying the COVID, I'm like, well, did she have her infusion? Because wow. That
I don't
probably
it could have been.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate that I had that. I'm very lucky that, because obviously there's been so many people that have died from it or have experienced really tough symptoms from it. So very fortunate that it wasn't that bad for me.
Yes, especially because you are part of the rare disease community. A lot of the people that have passed away, unfortunately, have underlying conditions that they don't even know. And and they pass away due to asthma because it attacks your lungs or something else. So the fact that you're already a high risk and you pulled through, girl, rock star. Rock star.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm very happy I did. And I know that's one of the things too, is that people don't know that they have these. I mean, I didn't know that I knew I was sick. I knew something was wrong with me, but I didn't know it. And I didn't know it until nursing school, until I literally had blood work done for something else. And my angel of a doctor at the health center said, uh-oh, something's wrong here. And so that's kind of how I know, Amy, you were talking about, if you can't save the world, but you just want to, get awareness out there and talk about it. If I can do anything, like I would love to help someone else who's been sick every day of their life and not knowing what was wrong with them, not having some generic like disease or diagnosis and just struggling and like wondering what's wrong with me. And that's why I'm also going into nursing, because I want to be that nurse to any kind of kid out there that's been experiencing like any kind of illness. I want to be that nurse that I had that made me feel better and that offered me hope. And so I just would love, if I could do anything, I would love to help someone figure out their own illness or their own issue and try and get some help for that.
I agree. I believe that PA saved your life. I honestly feel that you were she was watching you. She was your angel. I truly feel she was watching you. She did tell you, I've been watching you. I know you've been sick. So I believe that things happen for a reason. And these paths, we shouldn't question, our, I don't know, destiny. But I really honestly feel that she saved your life, because you probably would have just gotten a bottle of antibiotics and kept going. And she was like, something's not right. And so kudos to her or him, whoever it was. Kudos to that person that saved your life. Absolutely.
Yep. Stephanie Peterson at the University of South Carolina. Big shout out. She is amazing.
Yeah.
And I also kind of looked at nursing. I was always between education and nursing. And I kind of saw that this was definitely a sign that I have picked the right career choice, because if it wasn't for nursing school, I would never have figured it out, most likely, or it would have been way longer down the road. And so because of IVIG and because of us figuring it out right now, I'm able to go to school and get an education. I'm able to go into nursing, where I'm going to be dealing with sick people. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be able to be a nurse. I wouldn't be able to be in the petri dish of a hospital and help out these really sick kids that I've always wanted to help and like fulfill my entire life goal of becoming a nurse. I wouldn't be able to do that. And so I look at IVIG and getting diagnosed with this as a sign. This is what I should be doing. Like, this is what I'm put on the earth for. This is how I need to give back and, put it back out there. So
yes, I agree. That's my whole goal too in plasma. I don't have a condition, but I do feel like this is my journey. I started in plasma 20 years ago. Didn't know anything about plasma. And here I am today on the opposite side of the fence. Usually in plasma, you're in the industry of recruiting donors and getting those bottles and yada, yada, yada. But having this connection is what I tell Ali all the time. I can't put words. The connection with the recipient is far more powerful. And I love my donors and I love my employees. But knowing that I can bring those together or at least raise awareness to those amazing donors that are out there donating and they come twice a week. And trust me, I know some that have donated for like 20 years. It's incredible. It's incredible what these people do. And raising awareness to me is very important. I want the rare disease community to be able to, for people to know about it. I did try that. I put something on my Facebook probably about a year ago. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody understood. And now I post every single day. I post and post and post. They're probably sick of me, my friends, but I post and post and post. And the reason why I do that is because consistency, the same way that there's breast cancer awareness, the same way that there's diabetes awareness, this is what we have to do. And if we have to say it every single day, donating plasma saves lives. The rare disease community is an invisible community. There are so many people around us. Hell, you were in a college. How many other kids are in that college that are invisible warriors that we don't even know? So your story is important, especially, you're a college age. A lot of students don't even know why they're constantly being sick. Ali had to switch colleges because she was so sick. She had to actually leave her favorite college and go and sit at home and do online colleging just to get her through. Mm-hmm. And then she finally got to a college closer to home. And it wasn't her choice. I think her choice was the college she wanted. But, it's like she describes in a lot of her episodes, she is in this vessel and no matter, you'll get to the finish line, but you have to go around a couple of curves just to get to the finish line. And to me, I learn every single time I talk to Ali, I learn more and more. And I appreciate her knowledge because without her, I wouldn't, you could textbook read it. I'm in the industry, so that there's a recipient waiting for plasma. But when you have that connection like we have, it's different. It's different. Mm-hmm. Like I could wear pom-poms and I'm 51 years old with gray hair and I'll put on pom-poms and the cheerleading and go up and down the streets like donate plasma because that's what I would do. That's how important it is for me. And the industry is very important to me. It's powerful. But this connection is, there's no words. Mm-hmm. It's no words.
Yeah, I totally agree. I donated blood all the time when I was in high school, just because it was a way to get out of class. I didn't know much about it, but they were like, come donate blood and you will get to miss your fourth period. And then
yeah,
I was like,
that's honest. That's true.
Mm-hmm. And so I didn't, and of course once I started being interested in nursing school and understanding all of that, I was it is important to donate blood. Right. And then of course I learned I have O negative. So I'm the universal donor.
Me too.
Oh, really? There you go. And so, yeah. And so and then they would call me all the time. They're like, we need you. And I was like, I'm coming. And so then now that I'm kind of on the not that I need blood, but that I need plasma, I'm on the opposite end of it. I'm like, wow, it is truly so important for these people. For people just to know about it and know that they need to go out there and donate because there are people that need it.
Yeah. Awareness. That's what Amy and I talk about. And just to echo what Amy was saying, I know that we can't save the world, but we can certainly spread the word and we can raise awareness. And for those who are eligible to donate, if we just plant the seed in their ear, then we can trigger change. And again, Amy and I say this when we talk all the time too, I think. Maybe we won't affect that first person that hears our episode, but they'll hear it and then maybe they'll share it and then their friends might hear it and they might say, wow, okay, I really want to be a part of that. And I'm pretty sure I'm eligible to donate. So I want to be part of that change. and then they donate, and then they see how easy it is, and they feel really good, and they know that they're saving lives, and then they tell their friends, hey, you won't believe what I just got involved in. I've been doing it now for a couple months. It's easy, and I feel really good. I'm saving lives. So it's kind of, we're hoping for this domino effect, Maureen, so maybe if we don't reach that first circle of people, it's just about spreading the word. And if we can get them to hear it, and if we can get them to feel something from it enough to share it with someone else, then maybe that third ring of people, maybe they will be the ones who go out and donate. And again, Amy and I say this a lot too, I think, even if somebody hears it and is super passionate about it and enthusiastic about it, but they find out that they can't donate, they can take that passion and channel it out into the world with their voice, like we're doing here. And they can encourage people, hey, I can't donate, but you can donate for me, because I really want to be part of this change. So we can still inspire people to inspire others who can donate, even if we reach some people who aren't eligible to donate. If they have that fire burning inside them to be part of this change, to be part of this support system, then they can spread the word and share the care.
Exactly. And after talking to both of you guys and hearing like Megan's podcast, I've realized I have my own, honestly, pedestal to be able to step up and be like, I can be a voice, and I can use my own experience and my own struggles to spread this awareness. And I think that's an important role I need to fulfill. I need to use what I have and what I've been dealt with for the good. And so, I mean, if I could just say anything to anyone listening about if they want to go donate plasma, I cannot express how much this has changed my life and how much of a positive impact that going just for these monthly infusions. Now, it's December. I haven't been sick since February. I mean, besides when I got COVID, I haven't had my normal cough illness that keeps me up for weeks. I haven't had that since February. And that is so unreal to me. Amazing. After 20 years of being sick my entire life.
Unbelievable.
It's like it's just so, it's like I'm at a loss for words, honestly. You can hear, like, I really just don't know how to describe how much of an impact it's made on me, and just like that I can function. I don't have to worry about like, okay, well, I'm not going to sleep for the next 3 nights and my whole week is going to be ruined because I have a cold, like it's just also for future. If I get sick, even if I get like in some kind of accident, like I know I'm covered, because with my immune system deficiency, it's maybe not just illnesses, but I got my wisdom teeth out before I knew about all of this. And I was almost in sepsis from it because I got an infection. Yep. You too.
I did too. Oh, goodness.
It was my oral surgeon was like, okay, like you're fine. And I was like, I don't know. But being at my baseline of being in pain and knowing just this is just what my life is, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. And then I ended up with a fever and had to be rushed in for an emergency surgery because it was all the way an abscess infection. Yeah. I was a day away from sepsis. It's like things like that I know I'm protected against now because of IVIG. And I'm not just going to quickly change like that because of my body and how my body works. I know I have this protection, and it's such a comforting and amazing feeling to know that it kind of feels like someone has my back, in a cheeky way. Someone has.
Absolutely. It's every donor that donates plasma twice in a 7-day period. Those are the heroes. Those are the people that are actually out there. And I give everybody kudos, but these donors are true heroes. And I don't know if you're getting your infusions at home, like at your place, or you have to go to a suite, but are you doing it every 3 weeks, or are you doing the...
I do it every 4 weeks.
Okay, 4 weeks.
And so, yeah, and I go to Palmetto Infusion Center over in West Columbia, and the staff there is absolutely wonderful. Like they have, because again, like it's something that I've gone to now for over a year, and I am there every month, and they know me by now. And I come in, I tell them about my progress with nursing school. They ask about my family. It's become such a great relationship, and I am very appreciative of the people there and the people that work in this area of healthcare. It's such an important area. And I'm very thankful for the people there, because it's a scary thing. I'm like pretty young by myself, like going in there at school. Like I have amazing supportive friends who have been there for me through all of this, through getting diagnosed. And I had my first, I actually have it over under my bed, but my very first infusion, my friends made me a gift basket because they knew I was like really scared about it.
So sweet.
They made me a little poster and it said my first IVIG treatment, and they all wrote a little note on it. And then they got me a basket with a blanket to bring, socks to wear, like a Gatorade. And I like sobbed. It was really, really sweet because I like joke about like, oh, of course, like I don't have an immune system. Like I make light of it. I joke to court with it, and like I was like, I'm just kind of make jokes about it, or I'm just like, like of course there's a national pandemic and I have no immune system, and like here we go, let's see how this works out. Kind of just sarcastically dealing with it. But when it comes down to it, it's tough, and I know that I'm kind of using humor and joking about it to not have to really freak out about it, but there have been times where I definitely have breakdowns about it, and it's something that I'm really stressed about. And to have that support system of my friends and then people like you who understand, and then the amazing workers at the infusion center, I'm very lucky to have these people and have my mom, of course, who's been there through it all. But
yeah. So when you finish school, are you going back home? Or are you going to stay in this area that you're in now? And
I'm going to stay in Columbia. I actually was offered a job in the pediatric emergency department at Richland. So I will be a nurse there. So I'm very, very excited. I was there for my senior practicum all September through November. So I just cannot wait to go back because all the nurses there are awesome. So I'll be staying down here.
Oh, that's awesome. So eventually are you planning on continuing the infusion suites, or are you going to get them at home?
I actually have been talking to my mom about that recently. We've kind of been thinking about the sub-Q option as well.
Right.
I don't know much about that, but we were just thinking about that. And then possibly, I mean, as of now, with my current lifestyle, I'm lucky that I can schedule it. I'm pretty like fluid with being able to schedule it. And I don't have anyone that, like Megan was talking about how she has kids and like her family and everything. Like I don't really have anyone depending on me right now. So I can go and take an entire day to sit, get my infusion, come back. Like I had mine this morning, and I got up this morning, I went to it, came back, I took a nap. I was fortunate enough that I could just lay in bed all day and kind of rest and get like my needed recovery from it. So for right now, I don't think I probably don't mind going into the clinic and getting it. And because they're all so nice there and super supportive, but I'm sure there will come a time where I'm probably going to move in the next couple of years, and I'll have to kind of figure it out if it's going to be easier to do the at-home one or the sub-Q or whatnot. So.
I think the sub-Q I've heard some good things about the sub-Q. It's just once a week or once every 2 weeks, and then you're good. You do it at home. I did see some videos on it. There's actually a competition right now with the hemophilia. They're sending videos through the group, and anybody that has like the most likes on infusions, like the sub-Q infusions, I guess the kids get a Christmas present. It's actually very, very cute. Yes, I did push it through my feed to see if, we could at least raise awareness and spread the joy. I think one of our guests, Danae, gets the sub-Q and she loves it. Megan cuts the grass with the pump. I mean, that's crazy. And I think Allie cooks when she gets hers. So a lot of people do different things when they're getting infused, So whichever one works for you, I think that's best. I'm actually happy that we had some positive feedbacks on infusion suites. I did talk to a couple of people that just didn't like them. They like just the comfort of home. So it's nice to hear that there's some infusion suites that are very welcoming,
Oh, for sure. I think that's a huge part of it. And also my current role as a student, like I could bring my computer, and it kind of forced me almost to get my work done because I had to sit still for a couple hours and be in the same place. And I also honestly ended up sleeping almost every time because I just get really tired during it. Mm-hmm. So I ended up just kind of taking a nap. But it kind of was nice because I could just bring my computer and get some work done or watch TV on it or do whatever. And the people there are super welcoming, and it is a nicer place. So I am fortunate about that. But I can definitely see if I go somewhere and maybe there's not one close by, or if I just need to have it easily accessible, then maybe home would be a better option.
Right, right. Well, did you see that we didn't even go through one question that we sent you? I told you we were going to do this. We just start talking and it just organically just happens.
And it just goes, and so it goes.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. I love that it's not, so formal. I want us to just feel like we're just having tea together somewhere. It's virtual, but we're having tea.
I'm thankful to have like you guys to talk to about it, because it's like I talk to my friends about it and they're like, yep, Mo and her, or I go by Mo sometimes to my friends, but they're like, Mo and her immune system, like there she goes again. And I'm like, here I go again. But it's nice to talk to you guys about it and just have it be completely open and safe space. So.
Yes. That's exactly what we try to promote, a safe space. And I know Allie sent me a whole bunch of questions and I have a whole bunch of questions, and you know what? It's okay. We can come back. You can come back and answer them another time, because I think we've learned so much already. I mean, you literally were immune compromised and got COVID. We have not had a guest yet.
No, we have not.
And so that is very empowering to know that it's okay. I was fearing this. A couple of people in the group, in the groups that I belong to, they fear the COVID. They're constantly talking about COVID. So the fact that you had it, thank God you had that infusion, that just validates exactly what we're saying.
Exactly.
Plasma is not just, of course it's for COVID. It's to prevent COVID. It didn't prevent COVID for you, but it did prevent the bigger, how do I say, you didn't get as sick as some people that haven't had, you didn't
complications.
Yeah, the complications, exactly. And so I think it's a great message. I think plasma really does help, not just with COVID, immune compromise. We said this in our last episode. It's like a double: COVID for plasma and COVID COVID plasma for COVID and plasma to prevent.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And that's how all summer. I mean, so this COVID came out, that was like March, because I was on spring break when it happened, when it first shut down everything. And I was home in Maryland from March until I was able to come back down to school in August. And the entire time, it was how I'm sure a lot of people are fearful right now. Like my mom was like, you're not leaving the house. You're not doing anything, because we already know how this is going to affect you. If you want to take a walk around the neighborhood, go ahead, but that is all you're doing. Like my friends also were coming back to school, and like everyone was hanging out, and being in your 20s, back in your childhood home, going from being on So Independent, coming back home and complete like under the parents' watch again. It was a little bit of an adjustment,
right?
But I was like freaking out, just because I was like, oh my gosh, all my friends are bad. Like, because again, it came out that like, oh, if you're younger and healthy, like it's not going to be that bad, kind of thing. So all my friends were like, all right, we're going back to school. Like we're going to go back, live back in Columbia and like everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go back. And my mom was like, you're not leaving ever again. But then she was like, honestly, Maureen, like you are getting these infusions, and that's what's allowing me to let you go back to school. She was like, that is what's going to give me peace of mind at night, knowing that, okay, yes, you're in a college town and you're going to be, like being around people, doing things, going into the hospital, doing your clinicals, but you are getting these infusions, and that's like your saving grace. That's what's giving me comfort, and knowing that you're going to be okay, because that's what you're getting.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, Allie, do you have something? We're at 47. We were supposed to stop at 30, and here we are at 47 and chatting away.
I talked a lot, so feel free to.
No, I feel like I'm listening to a younger version of myself. I mean, I can relate to so much of your story, having your mom by your side, struggling through school, missing school. That is everything that I too have been through. And I applaud you for getting to where you are today while battling this stuff. It's not easy. And you have a fire inside you that only a true warrior has. burning inside them to
Absolutely.
accomplish your biggest goals while also fighting a body that struggles to maintain its balance. That's the hardest thing, and it's an everyday battle. And you have climbed mountains, and you're still climbing mountains, and you are breaking barriers, and you are meeting your goals, and you're doing this all the while battling an invisible disease. And that's remarkable. And I'm very happy to be part of your story now. I'm happy to hear your story. It makes me happy to hear that despite everything that you've had to face, you are sitting here with us today having reached your biggest goals in life so far. And that's just huge because, like Amy said, I run a blog and I run a support page, Maureen, and I can say over the last decade that I've been running those things, I feel like everybody in this community of invisible warriors walks a very tight line, a tightrope of either letting it get to them and sort of just tossing in their chips and saying, I'm just too tired to keep fighting this, and I'm gonna settle for less. I mean, yes, I still have dreams, but I'm too tired to try to reach them. I feel like a lot of us in the community every day are constantly having that question in our minds. Can I do it today? Do I want to do this today? Or do I just want to say I'm okay with less? And the fact that you've chosen to say to that little voice, no, I'm going for Mount Everest. Thank you very much, is a lot. It's huge because it takes everything. It takes everything to keep doing that every day. And that's really incredible. And you're a lovely young woman. And I'm very excited to see where your path takes you because you have the strength to do whatever you put your mind to.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was very, very kind. Thank you.
So I have just one question. Okay. So this is how we're going to end. So what advice can you give a newly diagnosed person out there that's struggling? Because I think D-Day is, it's a great feeling. And in some people, it's not a great feeling. So what can you advise somebody that's struggling with that?
First and foremost, I think the advice that I like to give anyone that's struggling with anything is that you're not alone. I mean, if we've learned anything today, Allie and I have like the same exact growing up story. So you are not alone in your struggles, and know that luckily there are amazing people out here like Amy and Allie, like you two, that are on your side and are fighting for you, and you have a team of people behind you. And even if it doesn't feel like that, you have people out there that are either going through what you're going through or know someone that's going through what you're going through, and that they understand and they validate your suffering, and you're not alone in this. And it's going to get better. Like, that's the number two thing. Number one, you're not alone. And number two, it's going to get better. Because there are countless nights that I just sat up and was like, I honestly just don't even want to do it anymore. I don't want to, I just, didn't even know what that meant, but I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm so tired. I feel so awful. No one knows what's wrong with me. I feel so alone. And if I can just tell you that you're going to get through those nights, that you're going to start feeling better, that it's going to get so much better. So hang in there and just take it one day at a time.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for coming on to the show. You will be back because, we have a whole bunch of questions for you. So you have to be back. Come back. We are not just sharing stories on Dear Warriors. Our goal is to help change lives. And when you share this podcast, you are helping to change lives too. Listen to this podcast on your favorite streaming platform. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, and God bless.